Dan, here we are. So, this is a very serious video today. Not going to make any stupid remarks. Nice day though, isn't it? Nice and spring-like. It is spring today. Natural light flooding the man cave just in time for this video. So this is a redo of my very first video in the channel as it is now, which is nearly 2 years. And watching it back on the old iPad and the sort of style I had, it makes you, yeah, quite an odd thing to watch. But I've learnt a few more things about these medals, the relatives, and also, if you give me a minute, I'm just going to grab something. Also, I think it's important that to do this video again because I've got more subscribers now. At the time I did this first one, I might have had 20 subscribers. Now I've got 400 and whatever. So yeah, we'll start off with how I got them. So the top ones and who they are. The top ones, these here, are my great grandfather's brother. So that's my great uncle, I suppose. And the bottom ones are my great grandfather's. Now, they are not complete. The bottom ones are this one and this one belong to my great grandfather. I had to put a new ribbon on that. The middle one is to somebody else that I've put in there, and that's simply because over the mists of time and families moving things around, the 1418 medal disappeared and no one knows where it's gone. In fact, when I asked my father where my great grandfather's medals were, he went, "I don't know, I'm not interested." This one was in a little place where he keeps his diaries, and he'd been there for years. He didn't even know where it was. This one was in a cupboard drawer. I've lost all the family members I could possibly, who might have that one, gone. My dad said he remembers his kids playing with these medals and throwing them around, so there you go. So I mean, I know when people go, some people don't like buying medals because they think, why don't the family want them? I think maybe as a society we're more aware of this sort of thing now. Maybe years ago people just weren't. Now the top ones, this is where it gets odd. All these here were thought to be the great-grandfather's medals, but they turn out to be his brother's. And I remember them as a kid, always in a black wooden box. Now, my uncle, my dad's brother, he had them for years. And he's become a bit infirm. We've just moved him up to the area, so he's living across the road from me. Which is good for him. And good for us, of course. And I said to him, you know, I think I'll be the type of person who should be looking after these medals as a family heirloom because of my collection. Yeah, okay, no problem. Went to get them out of the box, and this is the original bar that they were on. The victory medal, the peace medal, is gone. I think someone's cut it off. I do remember it being in the box recently. I got these probably 3 years ago, 4 years ago. So I don't know where that's gone. He's got a massive amount of clutter, and I say we've just moved him up here. When I have a mind to, I'm going to go through it all again, see if I can find it. Because what I can't understand is, without going too much into the personal history of it, he was getting fleeced by the local con men down where he was living. So that was one of the important reasons to get him up here. If I was someone who was going to steal something, I'd steal that medal. All right, you might say that people don't know the true value of things. They were all stitched on that. Why did they just take the lot? Why did they take the time to cut that one off there? Who knows? I don't know. Now, they were in a, you can see there they've been stitched on. They were hanging off. They were all dropping to bits. He probably stitched them on himself, my great uncle. So maybe I should have left them on there, but I decided to take them off, displayed them like that, and I had to get that one repaired. I had to get the little hasp redone. And maybe one day I'll get it mounted back on there properly. So that's the, and again, I've asked all the family whether they know anything about that, just in case someone had dropped off. But I don't know where that one's gone. So to go on about my uncle, great uncle, he was 13 years older than my great grandfather, and the family name is a very unusual, not my family name, that me great grandfather's, because it was on his mother's, my grandmother's side. So obviously I haven't got that name, but it was an unusual Irish name, and we all thought that side of the family came from Ireland directly. The great grandfather was Irish, but his brother was born, he's 13 years older than him, and he was born in Bilston, Staffordshire. This fella here was Bilston, Staffordshire. We have no family connections at all with them. Now, he joined the army in the Victorian period and earned the Indian Medal with a clasp of the Punjab clasp, which was for the defenders of Chapkada Fort, 7th of August 1897. It also has the clasp for the Tirah campaign or expedition, which was September 1897 to 98, in an area now called the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. The Afridi tribe had been paid by the Brits to safeguard the Khyber Pass. They did this for 16 years, then they rose up, and that's what the expedition was, to put them down. Now, there is a different service number on this medal to that medal, these medals, because he did leave the army. I paid for one of these, a couple of these ancestry things. Now, I personally think they're not that great. You're paying for things, and you have to go to a premium level. And if you're only trying to research one item, you seem to be paying a lot for the information. Excuse me. But what I was able to find out was that between leaving the British Army in India and joining up for the First World War, he became a labourer in the steelworks. A lot of steelworks around here at the time. Now, in 1907, himself and 2 furnacemen assaulted a fellow and stole 2 portraits off him. Portrait theft. Now, that is an old crime, isn't it? So he was sentenced to 21 days in prison, but he was bailed on committal, £5 bail paid. So obviously he paid the money, didn't go to jail. He's registered in the census as a steelworks labourer. They lived in an area in Middlesbrough, and I think it's still derelict now. The house is no longer there. So he went to fight in the First World War, obviously, and he was with the Yorkshire Regiment. Now, I'm not sure if I think the Yorkshire Regiment were in Gallipoli. Whether he was there or not, I don't know. But the only thing I could find out is his time as a soldier in the First World War. That in June 1918, he was in Italy, and he was detrained, taken off the train for influenza, and put in hospital for 3 days. June 1918, was that the start of the Spanish flu? Was he a victim of the Spanish flu, which we all know the full story behind that? I think we do. We're taking that we do. So this fella here, the great uncle, like I say, these medals have been in my family ever since then. I remember touching them as a kid, and never known who the fella was, because he died. Now, the problem I've had here is when I did pay for these ancestry service things, I took a lot of information on my iPad, stored it on my iPad, and my iPad's committed Harry Carey. It won't. I can get it up for a minute, but I just can't. It just keeps shutting down, so I haven't got the time to do it, because it won't let me in. So he died around 1921, 1922, when he was in his 40s, I believe. He's 13 years old, and his brother was his 40s. Now, he was an alcoholic, and my father has seen something on the internet, an old report in the local paper of him dying in the street. And the family legend is that my own grandmother stepped over him in the street because he was always laid in the gutter, an alcoholic, and apparently he was dead. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. The surprise is that the medals managed to remain, because I would imagine if he was a person who had suffered from alcoholism, that he might have sold them anyway. Looking back now, never met the bloke, obviously. None of my family alive met him. People who are alive now, obviously, again. But, he's a very young man, serving in India, certainly in 2 actions. And then he went on to serve throughout the First World War. He didn't have an easy life. Not excusing his theft of portraits, but you don't know what that fellow was. There'd have been no PTSD in those days. You just had to get on with it. So, maybe that was his answer, alcohol. But it would be nice if I ever found the other medal. If I don't, there's still a bit of a memorial to the fella living on in Steelham Stands Mancave. The other one, the bottom, my great grandfather. This is a fella here with his wife. Yeah. My cousin in Australia, who's related on my mum's side, so not related to them, he used to say they look like brother and sister. There is a funny thing where one of my other relatives did some family research and he came to the same conclusion. That's a bit, might explain why I'm a bit crazy. Anyway, so he was a stoker in the Royal Navy and was served on HMS Yarmouth in the Battle of Jutland. HMS Yarmouth was scrapped 1929. And what I'm thinking of doing is, I've already looked on the internet, but I have spent a lot of money on collectible crap in the last week. If I spend another 50 pence, my wife will finish me off. I guarantee you that. So these little items from these ships, there's one guy selling a load of like cigarette cards and stuff. I might get some of them and do a little setup, because this photograph's just glued onto the wall with a bit of blue tack. Should be in a frame probably. It is only a copy of the original. I think my mum's got the original one. When I showed this photograph before, one commenter, Thorsten Thomas, said he does look a bit chunky round the waist to be a stalker, and I had thought of that myself. Again, I never met this guy. He died in around 1955, I think. And but my father said he was a very short, stocky individual, and whether he has got a little bit of rolls of fat there, which he does look. Shoveling coal all day, I bet his upper body strength was phenomenal. I mean, I do a manual job, and I know the difference between doing a manual job and a less than manual job, because I've done both. And you do develop, well, think of bricklayers, joiners, people who are sawing all day. It's not the type of muscle that you actually get in a gym. I won't go in too much into that, but this is my wife. She's not coming to disturb me. She's banging doors about. Historical content going on here, do you mind? Anyway, so the point being, the fella there, he died, and apparently, according to my uncle, who lives across the road now, he was going away to scout camp, and the old granddad gave him his pension money. He said, "Spend that, son, because I won't be needing it." And apparently, he died of a stroke. Now, the worrying thing is, he died of a stroke. His father died of a stroke. I found that out. I'm thinking, oh, better lay off the old. Get fitter. Get fitter. Here, we have to get fitter. Look after yourself. I suppose in those days, people didn't know. You know, he could have had high cholesterol, high blood pressure. He could have had anything. People didn't get checked as much. So he died in 1955. I know where he's buried. I know the churchyard. Unfortunately, it's in a quite forlorn part of the area. The church was demolished in the 1970s, and the graveyard is still there in the Lich Gate. But the fella there, my great-grandfather, they couldn't afford a headstone, so he was effectively buried, I suppose, in a pauper's grave, no headstone. No marker, I don't believe. And I've only ever been able to walk around the churchyard once, and there is a lot of sort of places where you think there's probably a grave there, but there's no marker to say. I don't know whether you could find out off the local council. So yeah, that's me bit of family history. That what hopefully my cousin is a bit more of a whiz with computers than I am. He's got a load of information. Some of this has come from him to pass on to me, but he works away a lot, so I don't get to see him. I'm hoping that if he can shed any more light on the situation. His father, my uncle, complicated. There's police sirens again. Oh well. So, or ambulance. He did make a suggestion that my great grandfather didn't have a brother. That this isn't his brother, which I'm thinking, well, if that's the case, how come the medals appeared? And then the surname is very, very unusual. In fact, so unusual that the old stoker there, if you look on HMS Yarmouth's Battle of Jutland, who was in the crew, his name's spelt wrong, but his service number's correct. So, yeah, so that's it. I have talked for nearly 15 minutes. Family history. So there's that. The chopped medal ribbon. Probably never find it. If I did, that would be quite a thing to have, the full set. So, this is Stan, and I guarantee you that's the last time I'm doing a serious video. I have to go back to mucking around next week. All right, I'll see you later. See ya.